Hello, everyone. I am Elman, and if you're watching this on another channel, this is.
Hello, everyone. I'm AY Animates.
And today, um, we want to talk about what makes a Smash character a Smash character. This all started when I saw a "What if Micaiah was in a platform fighter" video by A Animates here, and I noticed I was also doing something similar. I was like, this guy likes Fire Emblem and Smash Bros. Let me see if I can message him if he wants to do a collab. And now here we are. So how you doing, A Animates?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. And if there are any A Animates fans here, hello. Uh, and this is my first time on your channel. And if anyone's watching this on my channel, this is your first time on my channel. I hope you
Yeah.
I hope you have a nice day. We have lots of Coke Zero and Oreos because those are my addictions. I hope you can eat at least one of them. But
Yeah.
you didn't come here to eat. You came here to talk about Smash characters. Uh, for anyone thinking what are the character choices, I picked the Luigi on the left and put Byleth on the right for A Animates. I'll let A Animates start off as I've been yapping for a bit. So A Animates, take the microphone.
All right. Perfect. So, yeah, I think just as we had said, we're looking at what makes a Smash character. And I think the first thing we're going to be looking into, just kind of as I'm thinking, it comes down to one of the first things is do they feel like their character of origin? Like, do their moves make sense for who they are?
Uh,
Just
Honestly, that's a really good sentiment to start off with. For me, I feel like what makes a Smash character is not necessarily like how their moves of origin would work in the series, because we definitely have a few stinkers, specifically Ultimate, like Min Min, Kazuya, and then there's Sonic there. But we also do have some really good choices. Like, even though Mega Man won't be a top 5 character anytime soon, he definitely feels a lot like Mega Man. And even though Ken and Ryu can become Luigi's sometimes, like the Smash Ultimate term for Luigi, you can definitely do Street Fighter stuff in there. So I think it can turn into a sense of how do we make it feel like both the character and how do we make it also healthy for the game for the players to have fun with, if you catch my drift.
yeah. I think part of that comes down to just making, and this is something that Smash Ultimate has had a little bit of a problem with, but that's a different can of worms. Balance, and it just, I guess, making all the move sets cohesive in a way. Just like, oh
Yeah.
geez, why am I losing my train of thought?
No worries. I how about I give you my opinions on Ultimate's design choices while you get your thoughts, to see if anything
Sounds good.
is familiar to your thinking. And as any friend of mine knows, if they're seeing this video, I tend to bitch about the game. Apologies for the words. We should avoid using them bad words. So but honestly, that'll be the one word. So this doesn't get marked as YouTube for kids. But the way I see it is that Ultimate just in general suffers from a not just balance decision, because it is the best balanced Smash game there is, but that doesn't mean that it's still balanced, because the game still has balance issues, I feel, as in terms of, okay, sometimes Peach is given a forgiveness thought as she is really hard to play, but if Peach were a simple character, everyone would be calling her brain dead or just absolute um garbage to like fight against because it becomes more of a oh yay the 50-50, but the 50-50 is actually a 10-90 and you're in the 10 and Peach Daisy is in the 90 like most characters are against our more meta defining picks like Game & Watch, Sonic and Steve. Like let me put it to you this way. She has a ton of safe aerials, can do ground damage aerials at not ground damage, can do full hop damage aerials on the ground, essentially with a float cancel. Has shield break setups, can 0 to death you easily, has a projectile for zoning. And sure, you could say the projectile's a bit weak because it isn't just like a charge shot or a gyro shenanigan, but it's still a
Until she pulls out the bomb.
that too, but that's already like an RNG thing. If anything, you could look at the bomb as a reliability buffer for Peach. Like, oh, you can't get the kill with your 0 to death combo. Like, you shouldn't be fishing for your bomb, but if you just so happen to have the bomb, it just kind of increases neutral in your favor for a bit. Because you could also say, oh, but they have a reflector. You could throw the bomb up and then try and grab them if they're in their reflector in case it's Fox or Wolf. And I would also say Fox is in also one of those things. But going back to Peach, just think of it as a reliability increaser or something. Because look at Mr. Saturn. She already does a lot of shield damage. How about someone that forces your opponent not to use their shield? And in Ultimate, your shield is already kind of bad. But with Peach having really high kill moves, she can do pretty lagless, like her double background shield. That's already getting to competitive thing. But the thing is, people tend to forgive Peach for all this because she has one thing that holds her back. You know what that is? Is that it's that she's hard to play. Like, do you think you can do 20 or 10 float cancels? You say that you can because you can just press the jump button and hold the stick down. But now try doing those while doing the attacks, grabs, and all that, right?
You know, there's actually been stories out there of people who, like Peach and Daisy mains, who have actually had to seek medical attention for like their hand and their fingers just because of just how tight everything is to get it all to line up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when it comes to designing a character, even if they've got so many things like Peach or Daisy where they've got things that stuff out your approach and all that, some of the things that's different from like Peach versus like Kazuya or other things is there's a general weakness that you can exploit versus, and I think that's something that we need to look into when making or like analyzing a character, where like in their general play style, what is some ways that we can find some counterplay? That way we can make the fight a little bit more even. What are things we can exploit? Like with Min, sure, she's got a ton of range. And she also has, you know, a reflector. But it's a little bit easier to fight her when it's up close.
Yes, it's precisely, but not only that, you also need to have really good frame data. So then here's the situation. How do you get in? Like, look at Ganondorf. He's going to have trouble getting in. But then when Min fights someone like Sheik or Fox or Roy, she can just absolutely hold to the inner workings of them. And even then, some characters who can get in, Min also has decent boxing options for it. Like, what I want to say is that what was the purpose of Min's design to be so polarizing? Because you need extreme, like you need to be something like Sheik to even just remotely play against that character to a fun-ish degree. Because if you don't, it's just gonna be like, oh, they flew me to 2 arms. Oh, I gotta guess this 50-50 that I just die. Okay. Okay. And then the game just doesn't become enjoyable. But then again, that will just leak into competition. Because if we go in a casual play, right? Let's take a minute to look at casual play. Most people aren't gonna have an easy time controlling those arms, honestly. But when they do, they'll find some fun. Like, you gotta remember, these characters are balanced in sort of a casual way. But Ultimate went a bit more into the competitive scene, hence why there are so many moves that are just extremely lagless for no reason. Did you know if you go into ultimateframedata.com and go look for Pyra's Up Air?
Game & Watch.
No, I'll give you an extreme example. Pyra Up Air, which is similar to Marth, Lucina, Chrom, and Roy's, is -4 on shield at the lowest point. And she's supposed to be the slow one. Lots like like that's something I think the more welcomed Smash characters try to avoid. Like, let's take a look at Mega Man. Sure, those projectiles are going to be oppressive, and he has botsing options. But then you look at the fact those botsing options really aren't that great to a certain degree, because most of it is just pellet. He doesn't have a forward tilt, and his jab is just a pellet. You could say, oh, but then his smash attack, that is also just a projectile. And then you go look for his up smash and his down smash, and you can see that the range isn't that great compared to most. Like, sure, the kill frame is there. Like, Mega Man just plays more like an actual zoner. He would be on the upper echelons of zoners there. But
yeah,
he can still suffer a bit from the whole Ultimate design philosophy that zoners need to have botsing options for some reason, but that's already a Smash Ultimate thing. I am not putting that against Mega Man right there, because every zoner in Ultimate, except your Duck Hunt, just happens to have crazy botsing options. And you look at Mega Man, right?
Look at
what?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Oh, if we're talking about boxing options, I mean, look at Samus.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've heard people say that Samus really doesn't play like Samus does in Metroid. Because you can tell this Samus is a lot slow and floaty. Samus does not play like that in Metroid. And that's already
she doesn't.
And yeah, and that's a curse of, of it being outdated Smash 64 design. But what makes Mega Man pretty faithful to his design, right, is that if you play Mega Man, you want those projectiles to keep the people out, or you're gonna suffer. So if botsing, so characters like for Zoni didn't have such great botsing options, Mega Man could definitely suffer a bit. And yeah, like what can he do at close range? Oh, he can just hit you with the down smash. It doesn't have much range. Mario, one of the shorter range characters in the cast, can probably just trade with it. In fact, I think he can space it perfectly with F tilt. Your up smash, if you aren't getting that scoop hitbox, you are in a world of hurt. And the F smash, yeah, like I said, that's a projectile. And Mega Man does have a down tilt and an up tilt, which can help him, go in or trip someone. But remember, if you whiff that up tilt that can kill, it can't kill as hard as some moves can. But you gotta remember, if it misses, someone could punish you with a smash attack. And that's just how Mega Man is. You didn't keep the opponent out. You didn't space, like, your projectiles. Like, let's say you're fighting a boss, right? You're shooting projectiles aimlessly, and you let the boss get close. What's gonna happen to you? You're gonna lose, like, 5 bars of your life. Like, the Mega Man lives look like little bars, so I'm just saying bars there. But you get what I mean. Mega Man wants to keep you away, just like in Mega Man. But then there is Samus, right? Who is floaty, zoner, projectiles. She doesn't feel like Metroid. She feels like a Smash character. And now let me rephrase. She feels like a 64 era design. She doesn't feel like Metroid. And I guess for back then, that made a lot of sense. Oh, I guess this is how Samus would play like in Smash. But as the series evolved, more and more characters have played like their own games in a 2D fighting platformer. And I think that's honestly pretty cool. Like, can you honestly say Samus is a character that could have been designed in 2020 or 2022 or just like 2024 at least? Not 2024, 2014.
As she is now, no. I
Mm,
think there's things holding her back, that keep her from, I guess, being up to the standard of the movesets that we get now for like Ultimate
yeah.
or even like the Wii U back then. The same thing happened with like characters like Donkey Kong or Ganondorf, where just some of these older characters, they're starting to show their age, even when it comes to some things like frame data or just the general moves. Like Donkey Kong doesn't really, like,
I
he gets the whole like burly like ape, but there's
uh,
not a whole lot
yeah,
from
I'd
like
I'd want
the
to
games.
I'd want to add some support on that. A popular, I wouldn't say if they're popular or not, but a frequent Smash platform fighter content creator, Mockrock, did say that Donkey Kong just feels like Burly Ape instead of Donkey Kong, and I can definitely see that. Like, sure, he's got the cargo throw because he's been known to carry Pauline throughout the Donkey Kong games. That makes sense. And then there's the dash attack from the Donkey Kong Country, but anything else just feels, oh, he's just an ape swinging his hands. And the clapping, I think that just happens to be more. It's become a staple of the Donkey Kong characters who have clap moves in their move sets in Smash. And
Yeah,
there's some clapping stuff in Donkey Kong games, I think. But then again, I haven't played the Donkey Kong games, so I would like to stray away from Donkey Kong as I do not have the proper knowledge on it. But Donkey Kong, if he were fixed a bit more, I could honestly see him being more like Donkey Kong, and also making him a bit more with his actual goofy voice instead of just ape noises like he does in Smash. Same thing with Bowser; he just has monster noises instead of
that's true.
Bowser, the fun-loving villain who's a good dad to his son. Like in Ultimate, you can definitely compare like a character that was just ported with a new animations just to make them look decent enough with the new guys. Uh, but then
Right.
if we continue on to that, it will leak into, oh, Smash should be rebooted. I don't think it needs to be rebooted. I think it just needs
That's
its
a
older.
conversation for a different time.
Yeah, but to go back to another character, Ganondorf, right? He is definitely the definition of Smash quote unquote character. Like this is a Smash character. Like, and I don't mean they got Ganondorf to feel like I'm actually playing Ganondorf, right, in this fighting game. No, you're playing the slow version of what Captain Falcon's base move set was like
It's
Shogun the
interesting.
Flame
Captain
Choke.
Falcon's moveset was actually, a lot of things for that was taken from like a beta version, when
Exactly.
Sakurai was developing Smash. Just before we got all the Nintendo characters in, they were just like little stick figures.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Captain
like
Falcon's moveset was a lot of those moves, like his normals, punches and all that. Those are based off that.
yeah, like
And
uh,
then
an example
they
for
took a little
this
bit of, go
is
on.
is, is Samus. Like look at Samus. He and Samus have the same up tilt. Everyone in 64 has the same nair, and if you want to uh, be and like if you want to be nerdy about it, you could also say that Jigglypuff, Kirby, and Fox have the same up tilt as well. Honestly, maybe the most
You're
unique
right.
character in Smash 64 is probably Link, and that's because he had a sword. But I just know that if Marth was in Smash 64, he probably would have shared some sword moves with Link. But then again, the fact that he wasn't shows that Sakurai wanted to make him differently, hence why we have Marth in Melee. But yeah,
That's true.
But to Ganondorf, all he's got unique is the forward tilt comes, you can say, comes from Twilight Princess, and it does. If it were angleable, that would be pretty cool. But then you would go back to being like Captain Falcon with an angleable left tilt. He has a jab that's an open palm fist with electric. Yeah, but it's still essentially just like Captain Falcon's jab 1. His nair's still the same. His up air's still a bicycle kick. Oh, but he's got the flame choke. Okay, what else? Dark dive. No, that's Captain Falcon's thing. He just does the damage during the move instead of for one big explosion. You can't defend Warlock Punch, and honestly, even in casual play, what is with that up tilt? Tell me, if you play Smash with your friends with items, right? Why would you use that up tilt? Heck, even if you're just playing a free for all with no items, why would you use that up tilt?
Right, it's far too punishable. Takes too long to come out, and honestly, you can just grab them and it's fine.
And that's not the thing I'm telling you to look at, because everyone knows that. You want to know what I want you to look at that move for? Have you played any Zelda games?
I've played Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and then if we want to count Hyrule Warriors, I've played both of those. Started Minish Cap and Twilight Princess.
Do you think Ganondorf would be able to do a move like that?
Not that I can really see him doing that.
Yes, because like everyone looks at that move and says, "Oh, it's punishable. It's punishable. It's super punishable," like you said. But tell me, you played a Zelda game, right? Do you see Ganondorf actually raising his foot up when he can just use his magic or his trident or any of his minions to attack? Does he seem like the type of guy that flets all the way up? I mean, good for him. He's probably old, so good for him. He's in good shape.
Yeah. No, you've got a point there. That's, I think, just comes down to, at the time there wasn't as much. That comes down to development time, and comes down to source material. They didn't really have as much time to put in all the source material when he came in, and a lot of the reasons why some of these clone characters exist, it's just development time.
Yeah.
But that's also a can of worms for a different time.
Yeah. So, like, what? So I think Ganondorf and Samus make a case for the Smash character, and then Mega Man makes a case for a Smash character. Another accurate character I could say, and this is more in terms of just design wise, is probably the Mario characters, because in Mario, you touch an enemy, you die, and all of the Mario characters, they touch you and you get a lot of damage. I'd say the most egregious. I'd say the bad one here. The bad one here is Luigi, because it's a 0 to death, and having a 0 to death in a platform fighter, honestly, for me, feels a bit like, oh, okay, we're just not trying to play for like strings and stuff. You just got it because you touched me. But honestly, it's supposed to be because Luigi's the weird one. But you could honestly design Luigi a bit differently to not make him do all that. Like make the player do weird things for him to get the 0 to death. Not just make it tight inputs. Because honestly, there are even speed runs for you doing the 0 to death on with Luigi on the entire cast. If you've heard of those things.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
Like, I would say Mario is a decent designed one. Like, sometimes he can be a Luigi, yeah, but I think that's a problem with all of the Mario cast. All of them. Like you could even say Bowser to some degree, because he just kills extremely early and he's extremely heavy as well. When the whole shtick is that, oh, you have more agility than Bowser. And then there are characters in this game that have less agility than Bowser. Yeah. And like the thing with Mario is that, sure, he doesn't have a lot of range. He doesn't have the best kill power. But, he's going to have to use the platforms to extend the best of his abilities, to get damage on you, to get the lead on you. Just like his own games, he's a platformer. And if you play a platformer without knowing how to play a platformer, guess what's going to happen? You're going to die a lot. And if you play Mario without doing any of those things, then yeah, you're just not going to get the kill or the damage, and you're probably going to get out neutral because you're probably, just spamming the fireball because you think it's going to work. Like as a kid, yeah, we could spam the fireball against all the enemies, but sometimes the fireball's just not going to be the solution. Like, let's say, oh, there are enemies like the Thwomp, right? Can't eliminate the Thwomp with a fire flower.
Nope.
No, you need to time it and get under him to then move towards the goal. Like, if you keep spamming fireballs with Mario, you're getting 2% at all times. In a casual match,
when it comes down,
sorry,
and then that also comes like 2% if that, and then it comes down to the whole move staling and doing less damage over time. But that's a topic for a different time.
exactly.
But yeah, fireball, you're looking at maybe minimal damage, and that's basically it.
And in casual play, what's the point of using the fireballs when you got all these items? But and obviously items just kind of like auto balance everyone. But even if you don't have the items, and let's say your friend has a piece of the Dragoon that you want, if you're just gonna keep throwing fireballs at your friend, right, and hit, and
that's not gonna knock it out.
Exactly, you need to hit him with something strong. You need to get over him and hit him with something, because your friend's gonna hold on to that Dragoon. I would say other characters that do feel a bit like their source game is unironically the Fire Emblem characters. And now let me explain. aside from Chrom and Lucina and Ike, like, let's remove those three. And let's see, who else was I thinking of removing? Honestly, maybe Corrin as well. Yeah, just remove those four. And now let's see what we're left with. We're left with Marth, Roy, Robin, and Byleth. And what do Marth and Roy do? Marth is very precision heavy. Yeah, for his tippers.
Yeah.
Hence why in games with grounded movement, like Smash 4, Project Plus, and in Melee, Marth tends to excel. Also in Brawl, but in Brawl it was literally because it was just a Melee Marth with, I would say, a probably better neutral B. Because in a game with not much movement, like in Brawl, it's shield the stabbing shield breaker is much better than the slash shield breaker.
Yeah.
But he still had his tippers, in such a way that you had to get the correct positioning. I guess since the sword was shorter, right, the tippers were a lot easier to get, and so to the sour spots. Like, I think Ultimate kind of made this gimmick to the extreme, which ultimately hurt him in the long run, because those sour spots don't do anything, so it's kind of just forcing you to get all the tips. And the way I see it in Melee is that sometimes the non-tipper moves will send at different directions. Like, you could get the tipper dash attack to send inwards towards you so you can keep comboing. You could get the non-tipper up tilt to just get hit him with the tipper part. But this is more prevalent in Smash 4, where you can where you can just put a sour spot into a tip, but you can't do that in Ultimate. But notice how that's a bit of positioning, and I would say that that also is just a Smash character. Like, you're playing Marth from Fire Emblem, your positioning is gonna be important because Fire Emblem maps, all that stuff. You put your unit in the wrong position, they're dead. If you play, like, let's say you want your Corrin to tank something in Conquest, right? Well, you put them in a position that will let them get hit by the Worm Slayer, right?
Yep, goodbye Corrin.
Yep, goodbye Corrin. But if you use someone else, then, they wouldn't get hit by the Worm Slayer. But you just so happened to put Corrin in the wrong spot. Like, let's say you're fighting your opponent, right? And you put them in the wrong spot for your setup. Then your setup isn't gonna work anymore. Like, sure, it's unreliable because in a competitive aspect, but in games where you do have those options for grounded movement, then yeah, it just gets better. But honestly, this is also a whole can of worms that can be better explained by people that actually look into the hitboxes of the characters, hence why Lucina's more consistent and better than Marth. And even then, she has to do
Yeah.
the correct positioning for the setups, like side B into the wall tech thing, and then the Nair 1 into Oblivion, basically. And Roy is probably the best version of him in Ultimate, but he's a rushdown. And you're saying, how does that have to do with Fire
Yeah.
Emblem? In Fire Emblem, in the harder games specifically, you have to really do a lot of player face and aggressive movement. Like in Conquest, for example, Takumi is there, Chapter 10. You gotta defend it for 11 turns. Okay, cool. But at the same time, there are so many enemies out and about. You gotta get aggressive and route the enemy, or then they're just gonna enter one of the four not choke points, one of the four defend points. And
Yeah.
the way that works is that you need to get rid of all of them before they get in. And heck, you could say, oh, but I can just bait them all into my enemy range with a juggernaut. No, because Conquest thought of that, and they spawn at the very bottom a pair of Sky Knights, aka the Pegasus Knights, paired together. So if you kill one, you gotta find a way to kill the other one immediately. And they ignore you. They fly straight to the seize point, which is 4 different spots.
Yeah.
So you can't even tank it. You can't even block it with someone else. You have to get rid of them. Then the game gives you the options to do so. It's up to you how to use it, like with Roy as well. Like, Roy is fast. He's gonna suffer a bit against projectiles, yeah, because he doesn't have a reflector like bots. And he's gotta get in really, like, in there, because his sweet spot's at the base, and at the tip it's a wet
Yeah.
noodle. So it
True.
becomes more of a, how can I find the opening? But that's already going into neutral. But as Roy, you definitely have the tools to get in. You have your down tilt, right, for some pressure, to quote unquote
Yeah.
pressure the enemy. Like in another game, yeah, you could just hold back the enemy and force them to retreat if they have AI that makes them want to heal. Like, let's say
Right.
you throw out a few safe moves, and then your opponent's gonna be guessing, okay, what's he doing with this, and it could cause your opponent to, like, jump. You already know the opponent's gonna jump. Like, you already know the enemy's gonna go to those forts and heal, right? Then you can just
Right.
like, if you don't have the option to kill that armor knight who's really bugging you, you could just send that into heal AI, and then the thief still goes to near where you are, because that's where the exit is, and then you just have to deal with the thief, and then you can position yourself better for the armor knight. Like, let's say if the opponent
Right.
jumps, you can get under them with his blazing fast speed and then start juggling them or something, And I
Yeah.
feel that's a pretty decent design as well. And as for Byleth, he's definitely falls more into the camp of, oh, this feels like, like from their game, yeah, because Byleth at the end of the day is just a simple sortie, nothing else to it, no ifs and buts about it. So he's really simple. But then you remember, these moves make sense. The sword moves are gonna be pretty middling there, but they are the faster melee ones I got. And then the bow, yeah, it's gonna give me the range I want, but just like in Fire Emblem, if you're using your neutral B as Byleth up close, you're just leaving yourself open.
Yeah.
And
And then the lance is used for like spacing, but also like, yeah, you've got to keep them away. Just like even like in real life, if you've done any like fighting with like weapons, like your lances and your spears, you're not up close trying to fight with those. No, you're trying to poke and prod and keep them away till you can find an opening to then come in and exploit. And then the axe, that's just heavy power. Axes are heavy. And
Yeah, like,
with Byleth, yeah, Amir, his axe, jeez, that thing does so much damage.
and
Um,
listen, like, I know the Amir moves kinda are just bad because first off, that downer is pretty slow. That down smash is pretty slow, and if you whiff the
you're
hitting the
gone.
front or the back, you're gonna get hit. And then they're down, and then there's down B, and down B is honestly, I would say, like, Mark Rock said those type of moves are just kind of bad in design because it's a okay, come on, hit me move, hit me, you know?
Yeah,
Like, those moves are great for a flex, so there's the appeal. But honestly, Byleth also has that little camp of Ganondorf where why does he have two shield break punish moves in his fully charged neutral B and the down B of Amir? But Amir also makes sense because axes in Fire Emblem tend to be inaccurate. You want to get the hit rate at a reliable level to do it. Because let's look at some fighters in FE6. Those fighters, you never want to use axes in FE6 because, like, they're bad. They're bad, they're heavy, and inaccurate, right? So you need the
yeah,
supports to increase your reliability. And let's take a look at another game. Let's go take a look at Fates again. Axes have the lower hit rate, yeah, but those have the biggest power. If you can increase your reliability with supports or just attack stance or just any skills, then axes are going to become pretty good. And then in Amir's case in Smash, honestly, you cannot do the whole game with just Amir because then the opponent's just going to know. But with
yeah,
Amir, right, you got your timing down with Amir in the 2 frame, then honestly, good on you. You can do some shield pressure break, like you could hit them with one thing with the shield, and if you got your opponent shielding a lot, you could honestly just hit them with that move just to break it, or anything of Byleth's that can definitely break shields. And then the down smash
yeah.
definitely breaks shields. Like
Yep.
Amir, I feel it's like based on the older types of axes when they were bad, but it still represents a bit of that Fire Emblem thing. Like, sure, this axe has a lot of power, but it's gonna make you really slow because they are usually heavy, and their hit rate is god awful. And just like in Smash, since the move is slow, you really want to make sure this move is hitting. If not, you're just taking that free damage. Like, let's say, oh, I missed down air with Amir because I thought the opponent was gonna shield, right? And I wanted to be funny, haha, and break it with this and break it there because I thought they were really scared into it. Nope, you're just opening yourself up for something like, I don't know, or
Any smash attack that's out there.
or or if the character has a good projectile or just burst range, like you do this against someone, like, I don't know, you want to be cheeky and do this against Sonic. No, you don't do that.
Oh
Like in
dear.
like in Fire Emblem, you don't want to use an axe against a really speedy enemy, even if the enemy happens to use a lance, because their void is gonna be pretty high up, even more
That
so
and
if they're
then
on a tile.
yeah, and that's true. And then if you miss well, you're gonna get doubled. There's
Eh,
double the damage. If we're looking at characters like Sonic or Roy or any of the really fast ones, Falco even, you miss that axe, you're getting put into an insane combo. Um,
exactly.
Pikachu, for example, I've missed that axe on Pikachu, and yeah, welcome to 60% at least free damage, just cuz.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, like when it comes to making a like what I feel, what makes a character feel like they're a Smash character and not the Smash design philosophy character, is more so you want to make them feel like they play from their own games, their own lore, and all that stuff. Like, they're gonna have some flaws that can definitely make them on the lower end of the tier list if they're in the competitive aspect. But honestly, if they come from a game with flaws like that, it's to be expected. But if you, as a player, right, know how to play around those flaws because you've expected similar ones in the past playing their games, then you'll just have a fun time. Like, oh, dude, me as Mario, I just kept spamming that fire. I wasn't really getting the combo off, so I lost thanks to that. But that could entice you to better your combos. Heck, bettering your platform movement knowledge and what your opponent is like, where your opponent's gonna move. Like, let's say your opponent's gonna move to the top platform battlefield. Oh, I have to do this option. Your opponent's gonna go to the bottom one. Oh, I got this option instead. And that's already a talk
Yeah.
about game knowledge in general. But if you played Mario, right? Let's take the speed runnings for example. Like, there's the speed running for the final level where you have to do a lot of tight tricks and platforming, right? The final level of Mario 64. Whereas
True.
you, as an unexperienced player, you're gonna go look at it and you're just gonna walk slowly and you're like, whoa, what's going on? You're gonna speed up a little bit if you're playing on 64, but on the DS, you're gonna press the Y button. Like, that little pathway that tilts? Most new players would probably be like, oh, I have to make sure I don't fall off here with this tilt, so I gotta be quick. But someone who's a bit more experienced will just go and say, you know what, Mario can clear this with the long jump to this degree, and then I can just jump again and I could be safe. And you see?
Yeah.
Just
Some
like
things
that.
happen very similar with that in Galaxy's final level. There's actually so many places you can skip with a well-timed long jump. You can skip basically an entire planet
Huh.
just with one.
Maybe I should play
Ever play
Galaxy again.
Galaxy?
What?
Oh, did you ever play Galaxy?
I did. I meant to. What I said was I should replay Galaxy, and see what you mean
Okay.
by that. And you can definitely
Yeah.
see this Mario shenanigan in 64 and Smash 4, where he's very ladder combo focused. So you got to use the platforms to the best of your ability, and then he also has to use the platforms to his best of his ability in Melee and in Project Plus, where his combos are more towards the side instead of ladder combos. So you really
Yeah.
have to know what connects and what doesn't, you know? And that's already knowing
Yeah.
your character. But you could know that the move connects, but if you don't know how to get there to do your move, then what's the point? And see, just like in Mario, you gotta better your platforming. And then as for Brawl Mario, I know nothing about Brawl Mario except that he was bad. So I got nothing to say
He
there.
he had he had some work that needed to be done.
Let's not get
I'm,
into
I'm
that because
yeah.
but you see that a Smash character has to be someone that actually feels like they're from the series. And going back to Peach, she does feel like a Mario character where she touches you, you're gonna get a ton of damage, but she also suffers a bit of the ultimate thing where she can just become a Luigi. Like Peach in
I
other
think
games, she would also just get decent damage, like in Smash 4, and in and in um and in Melee, she was a bit of a tank from what I hear. And from what I've seen, I don't see much people play Peach anymore, but item play is still very important. And just like in Super Mario Brothers 2, where you really can't jump on the enemy, but the enemy's gonna get the jump on you. So you gotta throw those things perfectly to get rid of them.
yeah.
But she's balanced out by the fact that she's extremely hard, and then if we look at Peach, right, you could honestly say she's not worth it because I've had a Peach main friend of mine say this, that Peach is just worse Rob. And now Rob goes into quote unquote Smash design philosophy character because
Well, there really wasn't much to base him off of.
no,
So
there really wasn't much, so you can't really blame them for that. But Rob is definitely an example of, if you want to make a design for Smash, you bet if you have an idea set in stone, you gotta be careful of it because Rob, he got a bunch of lag on his aerials and moves removed, and then look at him now. Like, oh, I want to get top 8 in bracket. Oh, I'll just play Rob, and there you go. You got top 8 in bracket.
Right, you've got that down tilt that pressures like nothing else. Down throw berries, which you can combo into pretty much anything that he has. You've got the gyro that just stage control. Side B is also a reflector, on top of doing a fair amount of damage and then pretty nice launch angle. Don't
Yeah,
even get me started on the up air.
and if you look at Rob's Gyromite game, Rob took a while to put the gyro into position for you to be able to move the professor. But even in the Gyromite game, if you were tired of that, you could just grab 2 controllers, but then that ruins the purpose of the whole robot operating body. So definitely, I think what Rob was meant to be is just a slow zoner. You know, like he's supposed to be the zoner. And if you ever got close to Rob, I was thinking that his moves are supposed to be slow, but he suffers probably this Smash Ultimate Design itis. You know, like Smash Ultimate Designitis. Is that a thing? Like everything has to have low lag. Everything has to have low lag, and everything has to kill.
We're Smash Ultimate Designitis. We're trademarking that.
Yeah, but he's really someone you can't put much blame on. I say you can take a look at another character for all of this. Let's take Steve, who definitely suffers a lot from Smash Ultimate Designitis. But if you look at the Rexius video, he explains a lot about Steve's moveset, and he also just made a general history document like video about Steve's in competitive Smash Brothers. And when I was looking at the hitboxes, I was like, Steve in theory has a good design because he will, if he wants to get the kills, he wants to secure them, right? He has to mine, get materials, and he has to do these setups, to get the win because he doesn't have much of an approach. Like, let's say you're playing Minecraft. You can't really approach the skeleton just by walking forward. You need to be careful or it'll throw an arrow at you, And and if you approach the creeper, you gotta have something prepared for it. You can't approach it willy-nilly. You gotta have like a shield or something to protect yourself from the explosion. And also have like a bit of a backup plan in case if you're caught in the explosion, you could fall and lose your health and then have to, respawn at your bed and find the supplies and hearts all over again. Oh, wait, not hearts. Sorry, This isn't Zelda or something like that. Supplies that you have gotten. Yeah, the food in your journey. Like, you ran into a cow, you ran into a chicken on your way to get some diamonds for the armor or for some ender pearls, to get the food, to survive and all that. But he really does just suffer from the fact that, let's just give him super amazing normals and let's make a side special. I don't need to explain that side special. I don't want to even explain it. Because I think the TNT is all right. It's more so the fact that his normals are just pretty outrageous. And then his up B just kind of doesn't make sense because he has the glide mechanic, which was removed from other characters like Meta Knight, Pit, Charizard. Heck, Ridley has gliding animations, but that's because they're carryovers from Charizard. If you look into the game's frame data, and it's not going to be an ultimate frame data because he doesn't use it in game, but it's in unused data. So if you data mine the game, it's gonna be there. He has the animation for it.
Okay.
But yeah, you see what I mean. Like, Steve definitely fits into Smash character. Like you're playing Minecraft Steve, and you're like, wow, I have to use my blocks to get to keep the enemies away. It's like in Minecraft, you gotta build a house, you gotta build a fort, or then you're gonna be open to the monsters that roam at night. and you gotta find your diamonds for the strong hits for the kills. And that makes sense too. But that's what Steve also just suffers from. That his normals are just too good, and he just has really insane options for no reason. So it's kind of like, okay, what you're gonna use blocks for? Oh, you're gonna keep the enemies away too, and then the blocks also suffer from the fact that they were made a bit too small in the hurt bots. Hence why you need full-size projectiles sometimes to just break them, and that's why sometimes
Yeah.
you can't use a small projectile to break them. You need something big. But I think Steve
Right.
is well designed. He just suffers from the fact that he wasn't play tested properly, or they just decided to give him those moves in general. Like, honestly, I wouldn't say play tested properly either, because with someone with blocks like that, you can't really account for much things going on. He really just suffers from the fact that they just gave him insane moves, because I honestly think his design is genius. Though, like, your axe, right? The way you use it to cut wood, it's quick, right? Boom. Then,
Yeah.
you can start your combos with that. Okay, cool. And you can use your blocks to extend it. I think that's cool as well. But the fact that he just has these insane normals is what kind of puts him in the in the bracket of, you can tell this is a smash quote unquote character. Like, he doesn't, like, honestly, you can't even put him there either. He definitely falls into smash character, the good kind. But since he's overtuned, you're like, damn, okay. It kind of bums you out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't be talking about Steve anymore because I'm not a Steve main. So, and I'm not gonna have the knowledge for all that. From what I'm saying, it's just that I'm remembering from a video.
Yeah. We
And
could probably link that video just so people can reference it.
well,
Um,
I would say maybe not so. We don't, because we're just going off some facts here, but it can be put at a later time if it's decided to. But another character that I think just falls into the bad category, and going back into the bad designs, is Lucario. I don't need to
yes,
explain
the
it to you.
entire aura mechanic that was the entire archetype that was made just for Lucario.
Uh, have you played Pokemon? If not, we'll just skip over that because I don't know nothing about Pokemon.
I've played I've played a little bit of Pokemon. Aura, from what I remember. I've played some of the later Pokemon games. They they wanted to do Aura just kind of as a way to kind of reference like over time. If I'm remembering correctly, any Pokemon fans, if you're out there, correct me. But Lucario is like the one of the big like fighting Pokemon, and he's like can't even remember where I was going with it anymore. Just like powering up over time, and he has like ability to like see weaknesses if I remember correctly. But yeah, how it was implemented as just like damage over like when it's heavy damage. Yeah, it could have been done a little better based on from what I remember.
Nice.
But that's just that's just kind of how it was designed in Smash. Um, yeah, it could be done a little better. I think Lucario is one that could be use a little bit of a remake, but that's a topic for a different time.
Because when I see Lucario, it's like, well, okay, I'm at 0%. Why does this character feel so bad? And then go to the more extreme percent, and you're like, wow, why is this character so kind of ooh? It's like you gotta get a really middle percent, and then you're like, oh, okay, now this feels like a character. I would say my more favorite versions of Lucario ones are probably like MMP Plus, because he actually does feel like a fighting game character. And let me
Okay.
explain why. Because he has this whole thing that in some fighting games you can cancel your lights into medium, into heavy, into special. He can do that because he can cancel his jabs into a tilt, and then from a tilt into a smash attack, and then he could do a special out of it if he were to do so. So
Interesting.
and heck, his nair is like Bayonetta nair because that's supposed to be Ryu's Tatsumaki Senpuyuken. I'm just saying Bayonetta nair because it's the one that looks most similar because he's not actually going to side like Ryu does in Smash Bros. His up smash is just Shoryuken, and his Aura Sphere, he launches it like Hadouken. And he does have one super, like I would say super move, like a fighting game, where you press A and B and he throws out a really slow Aura Sphere. Like, it will kill early. But the caveat is it moves really slow. You have to get your opponent in there. And I think you can only use it once per match. You know, it's like using your heavy supers in a fighting game, like like doing your, how do you call it? Not yours, like the big special supers, like the one that Daigo did on Justin Wong for that Evo Moment 37.
Oh,
like it's called supers, right?
Yes, I believe so.
See, I think that's I think that's good. And he doesn't have the aura mechanic. I think if he does, I don't know where is it, because Aura Sphere for me has always been like, it's always been the same size whenever I've seen gameplay footage of it, because I barely fight any Lucarios.
Right.
So this could just be going. So I could just be in Dementia mode and forgetting everything. But to just get to the point, right? I think a Smash character needs to have flaws. They need to play like their game. But you can't. But if they don't play like their game, right? At least make them feel like their game. Like, look at Samus. Like you said before, she's floaty. And she has, like, Samus in the later 2D games, she's a powerhouse. Yeah, but she's fast. Combos and all that. Like, sure, Samus has combos now, but most of those are just floating on the air. When have you seen Samus do things in the air? She does not do things in the air.
Other than shoot stuff, if you aim there.
Yeah. And then there's Ganondorf, right? He feels fun. So you can't really say that, the Smash quote-unquote characters are bad and they're unfun. Because, I admit it, the Ganondorf we have now is fun as heck. But it doesn't feel like Ganondorf. I'm playing Ganondorf from Super Smash Bros. I'm not playing Ganondorf from Legend of Zelda. No, I'm playing Smash Ganondorf.
Yeah.
Like, what I want to say is that the character has to feel like themselves. And if they don't feel like themselves, at least make them in a way, that feels like you were putting effort into making them feel like themselves. Like, Marth comes from a 2D strategy game, right?
Game.
It's literally chess. How are you going to translate that into Smash? So the best Sakurai could do is, okay, you have a tipper mechanic, and you have to hit your tips for the correct position. And I'm like, okay, you know what? That kind of makes sense. It's kind of a reaching low point, I would say, because I'm probably reaching out here for this. But if you think about it, it makes sense, right?
And then you've got the whole counter thing where it's like, oh, they attack. Nope, here's your counter attack. Just like there's the player phase, enemy phase there.
Yeah. Like, I remember Sakurai saying that it was to mimic that whole player phase, enemy phase thing. Sure, the move is super outdated and probably wasn't that great, but you could honestly say, if you bring back the melee counter where it fits knockback and fits damage, you could say it's like one of the more modern mechanics where you attack something, and if you're not prepared for it, you could face a counter, like the Ashera final boss in Radiant Dawn. You don't have Nihil, you attack, you're gonna face damage from her anytime you attack, anytime you hit.
Yep.
And if you're not prepared, you could also die from it. So, there's that whole counter thing too. Like,
Yeah.
Marth countered Captain Falcon knee, for example, and it was the sweet spot. You could die from it.
Goodbye, Falcon.
Mm-hmm. You see what
Looks
I
like
mean?
we're gonna be having Bird on the menu today.
Except he's a human. So we'll just eat his helmet instead. I mean, that helmet's look, that helmet is orange. It's gotta taste like an orange chicken. I'm just saying. Because of the Falcon logo on it.
Yeah, and you can cook it over the fire belt.
Wait a minute. Better idea. You take you make orange chicken in the helmet because it's probably made of metal because of all the car racing and all that stuff. Use it as a boiling pan for the soup.
Yo, now you're cooking.
Hey, I'm not cooking. That helmet's gonna be the one cooking. But you see what I mean, right? Like Marth definitely won't be playing like actual Fire Emblem, but you can definitely see that there's some inspiration from it compared to his contemporaries, like Ike, who is just big, slow sword dude. And this is an archetype Smash has basically done a lot better with Pyra and with Byleth.
Don't get me started.
So
Cloud even.
Nah, he's a bit fast. I would say Cloud needs a bit more holding back in the frame data department, because then he could fill the niche of he's a fast swordy with a big sword that hits hard and kills early, but he has to hit you first. Like Project Mike. Like Project Mike has some of the best movement in the game, but his moves are slow and punishable. Like if he doesn't have a plan to hit you with it, then he's just not gonna hit you. And I think Project Mike is probably better designed than regular Ike thanks to that move. Because sure, you have the movement. It's like it's like using Sigurd in FE4. It's a 12-move cavalry unit, right? And you're like, wow, I can travel the entire world with this guy. But then if you put Sigurd, right, in a bunch of enemies that can kill him, then he's just gonna be dead. Like, maybe he won't die because Sigurd is absolutely busted in FE4. But let's take a better example. You know what? Let's use Lowen from Fire Emblem 7. Lowen from Fire Emblem 7 is tanky. Yeah, but he's not too tanky. He also isn't that fast. And he also isn't that strong. Like, sure, he's got the movement, but those combat stats leave a lot to be desired. Like, he can take a punishment, right? He can take a bit of a punishment, but not too much. Or then, he's dead. But he's also, like, he's a mix between... He's like if Oswin was on a horse. But he also had to sacrifice some of those combat stats for it. So basically, and then if we go back to like Fates or something, that Armor Knight can get everywhere if he's paired up with someone and then do your combat. And Ike Project Plus, you have the movement to traverse the platforms. And if you get better at your platforming, you can make the opponent throw out options to see what they think you're gonna do, and then you can plan around what they're doing. Like, oh, they like throwing out these attacks, they like going for you. Okay, then you gotta formulate a plan for that. It's like you attacking an archer, right, in one of the games where Kanto is a thing, and then going back and see if the enemies move or they're just stationary. You see what I mean? Now that feels like a proper design. And then if I play Ike in regular Smash, okay, I'm just a big lumbering sword dude. Okay, you can hit me in the head at any time. I'm just here waiting, throwing out my slow attacks. You don't even need to respect it. Like, you could play the best Ike you can in Ultimate, but then you'll remember he can only do jump. And then what's the thing that can punish you a lot? By doing the same option every time. So it just... So, like, he's a simple linear character, right? But then that's the problem. He's linear. And it's like, okay, I figured you out. And then you have Roy, who's also linear and stuff, but he has the options to move around. He has the workaround. Ike doesn't have that movement option, you know? And
Yeah.
and Roy, he won't have the same retreat option as Ike in Project Plus, but he can definitely contest and, do some botsing while he's at it, because he's a rushdown
Right.
character. And it's like saying, okay, you know what? I'm playing Fates. I'm gonna put this Armor Knight here and see what the enemies do to it, and then whatever they do to it, I'll be able to figure out how these enemies work, and then I can send the rest of my squad in. It's like saying, okay, I figured out what you want to do to me. Now I've got a plan to deal with you, and
Right. That
and
that comes
then
down to just adapting over time, figuring
exactly.
out your opponents, learning the characters, things like that. Which just comes down to general playtime.
Yeah, but then you could also say, oh, but you can do the same thing with like you just need to figure out the plan around it. Yeah, but that plan is super, super linear. That's why no one is playing him in the current meta. He gets punished a lot easier. He does not have the data to contest these things. It's like sending a level 1 unit to fight a level 10 unit. Who's gonna win? The level 10
Yeah,
unit is
level
gonna
10.
win. Exactly. And then if we go back to the Mario characters, specifically with Mario, they say Mario struggles a lot against swordies. That is true. He can struggle to get in, and but then it turns into, okay, with Mario, I must master the platforming to do my game plan. Master your platforming, you formulate the game plan to get in. Like you could use your fireball to stun them, like you do with the Koopalings, and then you can get the jump on them. And in this case, the jump being your
Yeah.
combo.
Right.
So, and I think that's pretty decent designed character too. I'm not sure if I was
Yeah.
yapping too much there, but that's personally what I think.
I can definitely see that. Just like when in designing a character, yeah, definitely make sure that it feels like it. But also at the same time, like we have talked about earlier, that they do have those weaknesses, those sins that we can play around to keep things balanced and in a
Mm-hmm.
way.
Exactly.
And I think if we go on a little longer, we're probably just going to start repeating ourselves. But I
Definitely.
think we've covered pretty good, just like what makes it in, what like design philosophies, what can we do to like work around them and all that. And we
Yeah.
can use that going forward to formulate our game plans, things like that.
Exactly. Like, if you're gonna formulate your game plan, you gotta know your character. And if your character is just, you know, something super brain, like super simple, but at the same time uncontested, it's like, okay, I just gotta, I just gotta do this thing, press this button, I'll be okay. So there's no push and pull. There's just push. You're not getting any pull.
Yeah.
There's nothing holding you back,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess that's kind of the point I would like to say. Maybe someone can give some critiques on this discussion, because I am not a game designer and I do play the competitive Smash, but I'm also wouldn't say too much of a expert on the competitive Smash, because yes, I am probably the tour of the region, but then they tell me, "Oh, your losses were good." It's weird. I'm a tour, but all the players I play with, they're also some of the more stronger people in the region. So it's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So I would just
Yeah.
say, I would just say, if I would just say I'm more on the bad spectrum of skill, not on the good end. So anyone who's listening to this in the comments, you can give some critiques, and please, no harassment to anyone who would also like to discuss these things with you in the comments, whether it be on my channel or A Animates' channel. Let's all have a civil discussion, all right?
Yeah.
Well,
But
I'll be
yeah, I think
seeing
that just
you.
about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Man, thank you for having me on. It was truly a pleasure. Um, yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate it. This is when I say, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, make sure that you go check out LMAN. He does a lot of things like this when it comes to Smash Ultimate. His videos are really well made. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. And please also visit A Animates' channel. He definitely has a bit more specific info on things. Like I looked at his Makai video and I was like, damn, I should start putting specific videos on my thing too. And you're also an animator, right? Like because of the name A Animates.
I was into animation. Those just took a little too long and were a little bit too complicated for my drawing ability at the time. So I've changed over to other just more Fire Emblem related content, such as those movesets, or I also do vocal covers. My singing voice ain't the greatest, but I have fun with it. So
That's see, when it comes to making content, as long as you like the content you're doing and you think it's good enough to be put online to share with other people and be like, hey everyone, check this thing I did, then I think that's the important part. So goodbye everyone on A Animates' channel, and if you're watching this on my channel, LMANPAD, thank you once again for making it to the end of the video. And if you did, hit like if you wanna, see another video. And if you didn't like this video, press subscribe so maybe we can entice you with a better video. Goodbye, everybody.
goodbye.